gentlemen, for joining us on this edition of the Primetime Newscast on Equinox Television, live from our headquarters in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. I am Bable Jonathan. In our top stories in this edition of the news, Barrister Michel Ndoki, militant of the Cameroon Renaissance Movement CRM political party, who was arrested recently, is quizzed at the special operations arm of the police force in the nation's political capital, Yaoundé, and detained. And of course, the president of the CRM political party, Professor Maurice Kamto, and his lawyers were demanding for habeas corpus at the Yaoundé Central Administrative High Court. Today we shall be bringing you details, and of course in this newscast we will tell you how the town of Bamenda has become a dirty city as a result of the Anglophone crisis, and inhabitants of the town are complaining over the abandonment of heaps of garbage in markets and other parts of the town. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us on this edition of the news on Equinox Television. The national president of the Cameroon Renaissance Movement CRM political party, Professor Maurice Kamto, and his lawyers were demanding for habeas corpus today at the Yaoundé Central Administrative High Court. And of course, this is after they declared the Yaoundé Military Court incompetent to try the politician who came second during the October 7, 2018 presidential election and has continued disputing the victory of the President of the Republic, Paul Biya, who was declared winner by the Constitutional Council following results published by the election organizing body Elections Cameroon, Elecam, and after a protest move on the 26th of January 2019, the president of the CRM political party and other leaders were arrested on the following day here in Douala and detained, and he is charged, among other charges, of hostilities or hostility against the fatherland, a charge that could lead to a death penalty. And the lawyers of Professor Maurice Kamto declared the military court incompetent to try him on grounds that a civilian should not be tried in a military court, and the matter was taken to the Yaoundé Central Administrative High Court, where they are demanding for habeas corpus. Apart from him, other 6 officials of that party were equally before judges in that court. Today we shall be bringing to you details. Subsequently, another militant of the CRM political party, Barrister Michel Ndoki, was equally quizzed at the special operations arm of the police force in the nation's political capital, Yaoundé. She is in detention and she was arrested recently in the southwest region of the country. We shall equally be bringing to you details on this subsequently. Now we continue to the northwest region of the country, where a family is now without a home as a result of a fire incident yesterday, and the fire consumed the residents, of course, in the Bamenda 2 municipality. And of course, that fire incident generated when everyone had gone out. It was put out from spreading by neighbors. The flames were stopped from spreading to other houses around by neighbors and nurses of a nearby clinic who used fire extinguishers to stop the flames from spreading further. The family and of course the occupants of that house are now homeless, added to the precarious, difficult and uncertain situation in the northwest region of the country as a result of that fire incident. And the inhabitants of the town of Bamenda are now complaining over the poor hygienic state of the town as a result of the abandonment of huge heaps of garbage in markets and other parts of the town. And this is because the Anglophone crisis has rendered the work of the debt collection company very, very difficult. We will be coming back to that story in the course of this newscast. Now we're going to take another story concerning hygiene, and of course we're talking about personnel at the Ebum Health Center in the Konsamba. It is in the Mongo division of the littoral region of the country. They are requesting that the government should intervene and help provide working equipment and of course take care of the health situation in that health immunity in the littoral region of the country. Smanjikan Gilbert has more.
A heap of dirt accompanied by flies alongside standing water that produces pungent smell. These are some of the immediate hygienic problems faced by the Ebum Health Center found in Konsamba. Apart from that, the security of the patients is not assured since the health center is without a fence, reasons why domestic animals like goats could be spotted strolling within the health center, destroying flowers aimed at beautifying the health facility. According to this native of Ebum,
on a d'abord le problème d'insécurité.
We have a problem of insecurity because the health center is open to everyone. At times, even mentally sick persons enter to disturb the health officials. Secondly, due to the lack of working materials, we are forced to refer sick persons to other hospitals.
Le personnel, ça, et n'eût été les efforts du médecin-chef, franchement, c'est que le centre, ça ne vaut pas la peine.
The Ebum Health Center also lacks electricity. For that reason, sick persons admitted are in darkness, just like the chief medical officer who does everything in the dark. Added to the hygienic problems is the fact that the only toilet in the health unit is not being used. The workers at the health unit are now sending out a request to the competent authorities for them to come rescue them.
Nous prions les autorités compétentes de bien vouloir s'associer au médecin-chef pour que l'hôpital puisse marcher.
The Ebum Health Center is the only health facility in the subdivision, and most of them are looking up to the government for a quick solution.
Now we go up north to talk about the lack of food and insufficient sufficient working material for vigilante groups fighting against Boko Haram, or helping the military to fight against the Nigerian terrorist sect Boko Haram. And the problem of lack of food and sufficient equipment is serious hindrances to their efforts, and the challenges have consequently impacted their performance on the ground. For me, Armstrong Sander has more.
A time when millet, a staple food, is being harvested across the far north region of Cameroon, families and members of village vigilante groups have nothing to harvest as they spent their time, including the harvest season, to defend fatherland against Boko Haram. A wife of a vigilante group member in Kolofata subdivision said the family do not have what to eat and their children have been sent away from school because of lack of money. Apart from the lack of food to feed their families, the unpaid but committed members of the village vigilante groups are poorly equipped. The lack of food and insufficient materials, locals say, has played negatively on the performance of these brave Cameroonians who have lost colleagues unnecessarily to the enemy Boko Haram. Against this backdrop, the administrative and municipal authorities of Kolofata reach out to some of the vigilante groups with foodstuff and working material. Speaking at the ceremony, the representative of the divisional officer for Kolofata subdivision called on members to be united and resilient, irrespective of their challenges.
Mais vous l'avez fait en toute citoyenneté, en toute volonté.
Seni Bukar, mayor of Kolofata Council, on his part, saluted the bravery of the vigilante unit, calling on them to continue to work hand in hand with the defense and security forces of Cameroon to completely eradicate Boko Haram.
De dénoncer, parce que nous sommes tous des humains.
Kolofata subdivision in the Mayosava division of the Far North region of Cameroon is one of the localities worst hit by Boko Haram atrocities.
And a bike rider is beaten to near death in Anakoba neighborhood in Ebolowa, and he was subjected to jungle justice by inhabitants of the area after a lady he transported raised a false alarm calling him a thief, and the lady has been arrested for questioning while the bike rider is under medical attention. Innocent as he has more.
Commercial motorbike riders gathered in the courtyards of the Ebolova Regional Hospital in solidarity with their brother, tortured to near death. He is unable to speak and walk.
That Ogada man don't carry that woman.
His fellow motorbike comrades recount he transported the woman to a place known as Anakoba early February 26, which cost 200 francs.
We be been for night. We at this time for 200.
Instead, the woman was adamant to pay him 150 francs.
200. Like stand now the discute with you.
Upon insisting the sum be completed, the transported woman raised alarm. She was being harassed by a thief.
Thief man. They come now to pick that boy.
Inhabitants came out in their numbers and gave the bike rider merciless beatings and poured hot water on his feet.
They beat him faint. They see hot water through on him.
Sources say he was tortured for an hour from 3 a.m. to 4 a.m.
5 o'clock where it's still pity. And now where people will come now they see him.
Spared temporarily paralyzed, he was transported to the Ebolova Regional Hospital where he is under intense medical care.
Broke his hand. Then now it is talking and a block will come off for him.
The disgruntled motorbike riders, who say are victims and targets of such inhumane acts, call on the inhabitants of Ebolova to consider commercial motorbike riders as Cameroonians and not like outcasts or enemies, irrespective of where they come from.
Now to the northwest regional capital, Bamenda, where city dwellers are worried and complaining over the unhealthy nature of the town. Heaps of garbage are abandoned in markets and other parts of the town, and the work of the debt collection company has been rendered practically impossible as a result of the deepening Anglophone crisis. Stella reports on Bamenda.
Along major streets within the city of Bamenda, garbage has overtaken the roads and major roundabouts, thereby narrowing them down. The population is now forced to skip over piled-up garbage in order to carry out their day's activities. At the Bamenda main food and Tarinkun markets, traders say they have no choice as they must struggle to put food on their tables, given that the current socio-political climate in the two English-speaking regions of the country is making life almost unbearable for them.
Some customers, when they come here and they see garbage here, they don't like to stand and buy because it actually stinks. It affects me, but I don't have a choice.
There are maggots there coming out from the dead. But though we just have to manage, we don't have a choice. We only have to take the smell to when they are ready to come and carry.
Bamenda city dwellers have been wondering why the garbage is seemingly being abandoned by the company charged with keeping the city off garbage. They are now left with no other option than to devise strategies on surviving in the midst of the stench emitted by the decomposing waste.
When I come in the morning, I spray around one of that just to take away the flies because the flies are too much. When I spray like that, it kills all the flies. So that's the only thing that has been surviving me here.
When we come in the morning, we use spades, we use brooms, we clean it, manage in our own way. Sometimes we cover it even with bags so that flies do not really go in there and disturb us.
Sometimes we go buy la fois, they can't transport. Let's say we love the sense of it. Because you don't tick for under, you don't run for under, because they don't see about plenty.
If they not will not fit chop for you. What about one chop? We must come on with far away place. Then now we they carry water now they not do today because when they smooth there now so you know and then they breathe fine.
Sources close to the garbage disposal company revealed to this reporter that the company has suspended its activities until February 16, 2019, given that one of its trucks was burnt at Mbesi in Bamenda 3 subdivision on January 19, 2019. At press time, trucks were yet to be seen at work, even though some of the company's workers were spotted along the Commercial Avenue and other streets sweeping. Inhabitants are therefore appealing to the powers that be to come to their rescue.
With the big government, I beg government, let me tell you, let me see this situation. Now what if you go on for this nation, how will they suffer? They can't help with.
As at now, city dwellers look forward to the day when the streets and road junctions will be free of decomposition.
And that was Stella reporting there from the Northwest Regional Capital, Bamenda. Now to Konsamba, a reporter, Immaculate Fogwe, takes a look at the disturbing consequences of bad roads in that part of the Mungo division of the littoral region of the country.
This stretch of road linking Hotel de Ville and École Évangélique in Konsamba in the Mungo division found the littoral region has devastating health effects on the inhabitants. During the peak of the dry season, the inhabitants inhale dust while carrying out their daily activities. The dust here is terrible. We cannot walk for few meters on this stretch of road without inhaling a great quantity of dust. The roofs of our houses are equally affected by the dust. Another inhabitant who is suffering from this phenomenon explains. I am already affected by the situation. I have been suffering with cough and catarrh for the past weeks. I find it hard walking on the road because the dust has affected my vision. Construction works on this site, kick-started on the 8th of December to last for 4 months, has been delayed as they are almost getting into the 3rd month with no progress recorded. This has caused uncertainty to roam in the minds of the population who are doubting the competence of the road construction company. The quality of work done on this site is questionable, especially taking into consideration the quality of the material used and the approach adopted. To my opinion, they are not trying to synchronize the projects in a way that can avoid potholes in a near or distant future. I feel that the project might just end up poorly executed, like the ones that have already been realized in this area. Inhabitants keep enduring the adverse effects of the dusty nature of the road while awaiting patiently for the project to be completed.
Between February 25th to 29, 2008, live in Cameroonian cities. Some of the cities were synonymous to the early 1990s when Ghost Town was dominant, and the protests, which began as a transportation workers' strike, quickly turned into an anti-beer protest, and streets in Douala, Kumba, Boya, Limbe, Yaoundé, Bamenda and of course Yaoundé were transformed into centers of violence, looting, police repression and destruction. And on February 27, 2008, President Paul Biya broke his silence and called on Cameroonians to stop the mayhem, vowing to prosecute to the fullest those referred to as demons that had manipulated the youth, labeled as apprentice sorcerers. And 11 years down memory lane, what has changed? So notably regarding to the causes, with regards to the causes of that strike action, the economic and social conditions that provoked that uprising in 2008. We'll be coming back to this in a second segment. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us in Talking Points. We are receiving Gilbert NGIMNDOH. He is a civil society actor. Gilbert, you're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Babila. Thank you very much for being on stage with you once again to talk about particularly the issues which this country has had to suffer a lot. And when we are about to evaluate them, I want to think that we'll take all the perspectives that are involved in the 11 years of a memory when the souls win, but actually it looks like nothing has been done to actually redeem that situation.
All right, before we come to that, what is making news in Cameroon today is the arrest, the detention, and of course the trial of some political leaders, notably of the CRM political party, Professor Maurice Kamto, Professor Alain Foguet, Christian Penda Ekoka, we have Albin Zongang, we equally have people like Celestin Jamen, and most recently Barrister Michel Ndoki. What's your take on all these arrests and trials?
Whether who is in prison now, the major issue here is that they all belong to the political party CRM. The militants who are in prison presently with the leader, Professor Kamto. There are so many things at stake now. What is at stake particularly is that I want to take the situation here in Cameroon, what happened even before January 26, when the most referred to march was took place from where the leaders of the CRM have been in prison up to now. I want to compare that situation with what happened in France in the march that took place before that. They were clearly
the yellow vest protests.
Exactly. They were clearly contrasting situations. In Cameroon here, we find that when CR militants and their leaders were moving to protest what is described as elections hold up or their supposed victory during the October 7th presidential elections in Cameroon, the reaction of the authority and policy makers in Cameroon was in sharp contrast to what happened in France. In France, the police were there to guide the demonstrators. But in Cameroon, the police were there to repress and to exercise a lot of violence, drive home, repress, and cause a lot of problems. Now, the questions that every Cameroonian will have to ask here is this. Are these movements constitutionally legitimized? Are they supposed to be correctly institutionalized by the Constitution? This is where the whole problem comes from.
And the Constitution indicates that it's the right of every Cameroonian to protest.
If the Constitution gives that demonstrative right to Cameroonians to protest what they feel they are legitimately correct to demonstrate, then the question we should be asking the policymakers of this country is, are they imprisoning Professor Kamto and his militants for acts committed during the march, or they are imprisoning him for the march itself? Because I have been very keen to speeches offered by the by the Minister of Communication of Cameroon. I have been very keen to personalities in this country who happen to be policymakers, the way they react to the imprisonment of Professor Kamto. The impression they have given is that the march was provoking insecurity, provoking insurrection, and one of the charges leveled against him in court is even that provoke insurrection. The 2014 law that was voted by Parliament in this country, which is against terrorism, I want to believe that it was not in any way curtailing Cameroonians' legitimate rights to protest what they feel they have to. I want to think that it was a law voted to actually preempt situations where a Cameroonian can be carrying arms before that law is quoted. I seem to doubt why a political party which is demonstrating its disgruntledness, the militants are not only harassed, shot at, wounded. Some of them, like the Barrister Celestin Jamen that you talked of, was carried to the hospital And from information from rightful authority was that he was taken out of that hospital by the Cameroonian police.
And taken to Yaoundé.
And taken to Yaoundé.
And so on.
And here we turn to doubt if human life is no longer valuable. It is the impression the authority of the country, I don't want to say a political party, because I think that within the party which has power in this country called the CPDM, there are very righteous Cameroonians who, if the fate of this nation is left into their hands, this nation will follow the path that is desired by, if not all, almost all. I want to think that some people are somewhere willing to and ready to pull this country down to mud. Down to mud, because I don't see why the police will lose it. The police, the army will lose the Republican value they are supposed to have, and then descend as to intimidating, oppressing political leaders, not terrorists, political leaders, not any person carrying out a revolt that is putting the security and the peace that the country enjoys to question. It is a political demonstration,
even though
which the Constitution guarantees that political party.
Even though that peace, that security and peace is today threatened more than ever before in the northwest, in the southwest, in the far north, in the east, and even some parts of the south region. Now, talking about the 2008 February 2008 protests in some towns of the country, 11 years have gone down memory lane. When you look at the socio-economic situation of Cameroon today, do you have the impression that something has changed?
Thank you very much. But before I get there, you have to permit me a little bit to say this. The way our country is now, the socio-political nature of our country now projects only 3 regions. I don't want to say 4, 3 regions. We can say this littoral, the central, the south. I don't want to call the east because our boundaries with Central Africa are never at ease. There are only 3 regions in this country which presently enjoy peace in this country. The rest of the 7 are not peaceful at all. And the question here is, what are the security, what are the policy makers, the authorities of this country doing about that? There's a big problem. The whole groundnut. The weeks behind, it started from Boundary. Construction companies started and it spread like wildfire across the groundnut, and we don't forget the Boko Haram situation, which has never been laid to rest in the north. And in the east, we have our problems. Northwest and southwest, we have our problems. Now, coming back to the socioeconomic problem that Cameroonians
provoked the 2008 uprising.
Uprising in Cameroon. That uprising was provoked by the syndicate of transporters in Cameroon, but it suddenly assumed the shape of a burial in Bamileke land, where when you see a Bamileke wailing, crying, and rubbing himself in mud during a funeral, don't think that he is only mourning the deceased at that moment. He is profiting from the deceased to remember his own lost persons. That is the way it is, and that is what that February uprising of 2008 was in Cameroon. It was provoked by protests by the transport sector, but it manifested, it metamorphosed to an anti-beer demonstration. Why? Because people were coming out with accumulated problems. The question you ask is this: what is the evaluation 11 years as of now? You know, that problem was a purely socio-economic one. But the response from policymakers, the President of the Republic himself, that fateful Wednesday, attributed the issue to political frustration. He claimed that some political losers in Cameroon are manipulating the youths. And I just think that the president was not advised by any person, because he is so mature that he cannot be advised by any person in this country to think that legitimate claims by Cameroonians. Petrol was almost touching 600 francs, and transporters were not seeing the possibilities of coping with it. People were coming out with plaques, cut down prices of basic goods, basic commodities in this country. If the president decided to give a political touch, a political solution to cries from Cameroonians that were purely socio-economic, then there was a problem there. And once that is done, you realize that the decisions that will be taken will be misdirected. And that is exactly that was done. That's exactly what was done.
11 years down memory lane. Has anything changed? From what back to worse?
That's exactly what I am saying. That's exactly what I am saying. That a political decision was taken to resolve a purely socio-economic grievance. And it became a misplaced priority, because when you see that immediately after that, the president signed a decree reducing the prices of certain commodities in Cameroon. But we must be very honest to know that nothing was reduced. The Ministry of Commerce passed its time moving from places to places, but practically nothing was nothing was reduced, because consumers' rights, we must acknowledge, are never respected in this country. Producers and suppliers manifest what they like. They decide and they implement what they like. And unfortunately, the government is not even coming in on time. If only it will come in, it is never on time to try to salvage the situation of consumers. After
the decree, to prevent such an incident?
I think the President of the Republic should sit up. The President of the Republic should sit up and stop picking his pen and signing decrees and never forming any follow-up committee. Once a decree is signed and it is made published, to those who are policymakers, it is a big achievement. But I think that the achievement can only come in when that decision, that decree signed, is actually executed. It's actually executed.
With impact on the people at the grassroots.
Exactly. If it does not twinkle, if it does not cascade, it does not transcend down to the grassroots, then no decision has been taken, because that decision is taken for the influence, for the interest of those who are down there, not policymakers.
Thanks, Gilbert NGIMNDOH, member of the civil society. Thanks for coming. Ladies and gentlemen, that's it for this edition of the news. Thanks for staying with us.